Admiral K'Zoth stood motionless before the holographic display, all four eyes fixed on the swirling patterns that represented Earth's energy emissions. Their secondary tentacles twitched involuntarily, a gesture that, in hegemony culture, indicated deep cognitive dissonance. "Run the scan again," K'Zoth ordered, their voice crackling through the ship's synthesizer. The bridge crew, a collection of the hegemony's finest sensor technicians, exchanged uncertain glances with their compound eyes. Senior Technician Vextra approached the Admiral's podium, her carapace displaying the subtle bioluminescent patterns of concern. "Respected Admiral, this is our 7th scan. The results remain consistent. The data couldn't be right. The readings showed thousands, no, tens of thousands, of energy signatures matching the exact frequency and pattern of Mark IX combat training simulators. The same technology the hegemony had only perfected 2 centuries ago, after nearly a millennium of development. Yet here they were, scattered across the surface of a planet that had barely achieved rudimentary spaceflight. Isolate the strongest clusters," K'Zoth commanded, their primary tentacles flowing across the control interface. The holographic display shifted, highlighting concentrations of the mysterious signals. Cross-reference with human infrastructure data. The ship's AI compiled the results instantly. K'Zoth's epidermis rippled with confusion as the annotations appeared. Dave and Buster's Entertainment Center, GameStop, Pixel Paradise Gaming Cafe, Chuck E. Cheese. "These can't be military installations," Vextra chittered, her antennae twitching as she analyzed the data. "According to our cultural database, these are recreational facilities, many specifically designed for juvenile humans." K'Zoth's exoskeleton tightened around their thorax, a physiological response to extreme stress. "Show me visual feeds." The holographic display split into multiple screens, each showing surveillance feeds from orbital drones. Instead of heavily guarded military compounds, they saw brightly lit buildings filled with young humans gathered around glowing screens. The facilities were completely open to the public, with no security measures beyond basic entry gates. "Magnify Section 47B," K'Zoth ordered, focusing on one particular location. The image zoomed in on a group of human children, none appearing older than 12 standard cycles. They were clustered around a large display, their small hands moving across control interfaces with practiced precision. "Energy signature analysis," K'Zoth demanded. The results made their secondary hearts skip a beat. The simulation running on that screen was processing stellar mechanics, quantum torpedo trajectories, and multi-dimensional space combat maneuvers at a level that matched, no, exceeded, the hegemony's own training programs. "Admiral," the ship's strategic AI interrupted, its tone modulated to convey urgency. "I've completed analysis of the facility's network. This installation alone contains over 50 active combat simulation units. The complexity of scenarios being processed suggests technological capabilities at least 3 centuries beyond current human development records." K'Zoth's primary tentacles coiled tightly. Something wasn't adding up. The hegemony had been observing Earth for decades. They had carefully documented human technological progress, military capabilities, and social development. Nothing in their extensive records suggested humans possessed this level of simulation technology. "Prepare a diplomatic contact request," K'Zoth announced, their voice synthesizer crackling with determination. "Classification. Immediate inquiry. We need boots on the ground." "Admiral," Vextra interjected, her carapace now glowing with the patterns of confusion and mild amusement. "According to the cultural database, these facilities, they're called arcades. The humans consider them entertainment centers. For games." K'Zoth's exoskeleton creaked as they turned to face their senior technician. "Games?" they asked, the universal translator struggling to convey their incredulity. "You're telling me humans have distributed advanced military training simulators as games?" "That appears to be the case, Admiral." The bridge fell silent as K'Zoth processed this information. After several moments, They spoke again, their synthesized voice carrying a new edge of urgency. Update the contact request. Priority level maximum. The Hegemony Council needs to see this immediately. The diplomatic process moved with unprecedented speed. Within 24 Earth hours, Admiral Kazoth found themselves standing outside Pixel Paradise Gaming Cafe in suburban Seattle, surrounded by a mixed escort of nervous human officials and their own security detail. "You're absolutely certain about the security screening?" Kazoth asked the human diplomatic liaison for the third time, their translator struggling to convey the mixture of disbelief and concern. Sarah Martinez, the State Department's newly appointed Sinological Relations Officer, nodded patiently. "Admiral, I assure you, this is just an arcade. The only security measures are the standard age restrictions and the card readers for game credits." Kazoth's secondary tentacles writhed in agitation as they watched another group of human children simply walk through the front door, their only screening being a bored teenager checking their prepaid game cards. The Admiral's security chief, Commander Still, moved closer. "Admiral, our scans confirm no hidden defensive systems, no subspace anomalies, and no quantum entanglement fields. Just games." Inside, the arcade was a sensory assault that made Kazoth's environmental filters work overtime. Flashing lights, electronic sounds, and the excited chatter of human younglings filled the space. Their compound eyes struggled to adjust to the chaos of movement and color. But what caught their attention immediately was the back wall, a massive array of linked gaming stations, each running what the humans called Stellar Conquest Online. The energy signatures from their initial scans were strongest here. A cluster of children occupied the central stations, their fingers dancing across control interfaces with practiced ease. Kazoth moved closer, their scientific curiosity overriding their military caution. On the main screen, a space battle was unfolding. The Admiral's hearts nearly stopped. The tactical display showed a perfect execution of the Hegemony's most advanced fleet formation, the quantum pincer maneuver. A strategy that had taken their best tacticians half a century to develop was being casually deployed by a human child who couldn't be more than 13 Earth years old. "Oh wow, are you the alien admiral everyone's talking about?" A young voice drew Kazoth's attention downward. A small human female with curly hair and glasses looked up at them, seemingly unfazed by their non-terrestrial appearance. "I'm Jenny. Want to see something cool?" Before Kazoth or their security detail could react, Jenny had already hopped into one of the gaming chairs. "Watch this. I figured out how to modify the quantum pincer to work with only 3 ships instead of 5. The game's physics engine actually allows it if you time the warp signatures just right." Kazoth's translator nearly shorted out trying to process their response. The child was casually discussing concepts that were classified at the highest levels of the Hegemony fleet. "You learned this here, playing this game?" Kazoth managed to ask. Jenny shrugged, her fingers already moving across the controls. "Yeah, but it took forever, like 2 whole weeks to get it right. See if you synchronize the quantum wake patterns like this." The Admiral watched in stunned silence as Jenny's 3 virtual ships performed a maneuver that by all known laws of physics should have been impossible with fewer than 5 vessels. Yet there it was, working perfectly within the game's simulation. "Admiral," Commander Still whispered urgently, "the game's physics engine. It's not simplified. It's running actual quantum calculations. The children are learning real space combat dynamics through play." Kazoth's epidermis had turned a pale shade of blue, the Hegemony equivalent of a human going white with shock. They watched as Jenny casually demonstrated 3 more tactical innovations that would revolutionize space combat doctrine. "Want to try?" Jenny offered, gesturing to the adjacent gaming station. "We could do a co-op mission. They just added these cool new scenarios with temporal anomalies." For the first time in their 300-year military career, Admiral Kazoth of the Hegemony fleet felt genuinely intimidated. Not by weapons, not by enemy armies, but by a human child offering to teach them how to play a game. Perhaps, Kazoth replied carefully. You could show me the basics first. Back aboard their flagship, Admiral Kazoth sat in their private analysis chamber, surrounded by floating holographic displays showing hundreds of recorded gaming sessions from Stellar Conquest Online. Their primary tentacles hadn't stopped twitching for hours. Display comparative analysis, they commanded. The ship's AI compiled the data, creating a side-by-side visualization of the game's physics engine and actual space combat recordings from the Hegemony archives. The correlation was perfect, down to the quantum level. Run simulation I-779 again, Kazoth ordered, focusing on a particular recording they'd captured at the arcade. The hologram showed Jenny's three-ship maneuver, now broken down into its component parts. According to the analysis, her innovation would reduce fleet requirement costs by 40% while maintaining tactical effectiveness. Senior analyst Zixera floated into the chamber, her hover platform carrying stacks of data crystals. Admiral, you need to see this, she said, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. We've completed our network analysis of the game's distribution. The display shifted to show a global map of Earth. Countless points of light represented active installations of Stellar Conquest Online. The game has been commercially available for 10 Earth years, Zixera continued. Current active player count, 37 million. Average player age, 14 Earth years. Kazoth's exoskeleton creaked as they absorbed this information. You're telling me that humans have 37 million active combat simulator pilots. Most of them children. That's not all, Zixera added, her antennae quivering. The game's difficulty progression. It's extraordinary. By the time players reach what humans call the end-game content, they're handling scenarios more complex than our Fleet Academy's graduation trials. The Admiral accessed one of these end-game scenarios. The simulation showed a complex battlefield with multiple temporal anomalies, gravitational distortions, and quantum interference patterns. Players had to coordinate fleet movements through 11 dimensions while managing resource distribution and maintaining tactical advantages. How are they managing this complexity? Kazoth wondered aloud. Zixera brought up another display. They've developed their own methodology. Look at their communication channels. The screen filled with chat logs and voice communications from various gaming sessions. Quantum drift at point 7, guys. Remember to compensate. Don't forget to curve your torpedoes spread through the time wake. It'll hit them yesterday. Has anyone done their math homework? Also, dibs on fleet commander for the raid. Kazoth's secondary heart nearly stopped at the casual mention of temporal combat techniques that the hegemony considered theoretical. Show me their learning progression. The data painted an astonishing picture. Human children typically started playing around age 8, treating complex spatial mathematics as simple pattern recognition. By 12, they were intuitively grasping concepts that took hegemony scientists decades to formulate. At 15, many players were innovating entirely new tactical approaches. Admiral, Zixera said softly, her chromatophores displaying patterns of deep concern. There's something else. The game's physics engine. It's more accurate than our own military simulators. Kazoth spun all four eyes toward her. Impossible. We found a subsection of the game's code dealing with quantum torpedo guidance. It accounts for 17 variables our best systems ignore. That's why some player-developed strategies seem to break our understood laws of physics. They don't. Our understanding was simply incomplete. The Admiral's primary tentacles coiled tightly as the implications sank in. Humans hadn't just created a game that matched real space combat. They'd inadvertently advanced the field beyond current hegemony capabilities, then distributed this knowledge to their children as entertainment. A notification pulsed on the main display. Another gaming session starting at Pixel Paradise. The camera showed Jenny teaching a younger player about quantum slipstream mechanics, using colorful analogies involving water slides and roller coasters. Zixera, Kazoth said quietly, their translator struggling to convey the complex mix of emotions in their voice. Schedule another visit to the arcade. I believe I have much to learn from these games. The news of an alien admiral regularly visiting Pixel Paradise spread quickly through the gaming community. By Kizov's third visit, the arcade was packed with curious onlookers, though the children seemed far more interested in their games than the towering extraterrestrial analyzing their play sessions. Jenny had appointed herself as Kizov's unofficial guide to Stellar Conquest Online, a role she took very seriously. "You're holding the controls too stiffly," she advised, watching the Admiral's tentacles spread across the custom interface their engineers had created. "You need to feel the flow of space-time, not fight it." Kizov's translator took a moment to process this distinctly non-technical advice. The flow, they repeated carefully, trying to understand how this contradicted yet somehow complemented their centuries of tactical training. "Here, watch this," Jenny demonstrated, her small hands dancing across her own controls. On her screen, a single light cruiser wove through a complex field of gravitational distortions, its path resembling an elegant dance more than a military maneuver. "See, you have to work with the quantum eddies, not against them." The Admiral's compound eyes tracked every movement, their tactical computer recording everything for later analysis. The efficiency of the girl's approach was undeniable. Her ship used 40% less energy than standard hegemony protocols would require for the same course. "Admiral Kizov." Jenny's voice took on a tentative tone that made all four of the aliens' eyes focus on her. "Would you like to try a practice match? Just a friendly game." The crowd of onlookers, both human and hegemony crew, fell silent. Kizov's security detail exchanged nervous glances with their compound eyes. A direct competition. Kizov clarified, their epidermis shifting colors slightly. "You understand, young one, that I have 3 centuries of actual fleet command experience." Jenny nodded, already setting up the match parameters. "That's okay. I'll use a starter fleet to keep it fair. No temporal tactics or quantum ambushes. Promise." The Admiral's pride warred briefly with their diplomatic training. "Very well," they agreed, settling their bulk into the reinforced gaming chair. A simple tactical exercise would be instructive. 5 minutes later, Kizov stared at their tactical display in stunned silence. Their carefully orchestrated fleet formation, one that had won them the Battle of 7 Suns, lay in elegant ruins. Jenny's starter fleet had flowed through their defenses like water through a sieve, using the very gravitational distortions Kizov had placed as barriers to amplify her ship's momentum. "That was a good first try," Jenny said encouragingly, her smile genuine. "Want me to explain what happened? You set up a really strong defensive grid, but you didn't account for slipstream resonance. Look here." The girl proceeded to give a detailed tactical analysis that would have earned her instant promotion to fleet commander in the hegemony navy. She pulled up the replay, pointing out moments where Kizov's traditional approach had actually created opportunities for her more fluid strategy. "The thing is," Jenny explained, completely unaware that she was revolutionizing 3 centuries of established space combat doctrine, "you can't think of space like it's static. It's more like, you know when you stirred chocolate into milk, how it makes those swirly patterns. Quantum space is kind of like that. Your ships can ride those swirls if you time it right." Zoth's translator crackled as they processed this explanation. Somehow, this human child had just described complex quantum fluid dynamics using a beverage metaphor, and it made perfect sense. "Would you?" Kizov's vocalization system hesitated, their pride engaging in a brief but fierce battle with their curiosity. Curiosity 1. "Would you show me that maneuver again? Perhaps with a more detailed explanation of the swirls." Jenny's face lit up with enthusiasm. "Of course. And after that, I can show you this really cool thing I figured out with torpedo spread patterns. It's like skipping stones on a pond, but with quantum warheads." The Admiral's security chief leaned toward Lays and Officer Martinez. Should we be concerned that your younglings are so adept at theoretical weapons applications? Martinez shrugged, watching Jenny excitedly explain advanced physics concepts, using ice cream sundae analogies to the increasingly fascinated alien Admiral. Honestly, they just think it's fun. Dr. Emily Rodriguez's office at Stellar Dynamics Gaming Studio bore little resemblance to the sophisticated research facilities Kazoth was accustomed to. Colorful posters of various game releases decorated the walls. Action figures cluttered her desk, and a large whiteboard was covered with what appeared to be both complex mathematical formulae and cartoon doodles. "Sorry about the mess," Emily said, clearing a stack of game testing reports from a chair. "We're in crunch time for the new expansion. Would you like some coffee, Admiral?" Kazoth's environmental sensors analyzed the offered beverage. "Thank you, but my species finds caffeine unsettling." They settled their bulk carefully into the reinforced chair, all four eyes taking in the casual atmosphere. "Dr. Rodriguez, I must ask, when you created Stellar Conquest Online, did you realize what you were actually building?" Emily looked up from her coffee, confusion crossing her features. "You mean besides a fun way to teach kids about physics?" "Not really. I was on parental leave with my first kid, watching her try to understand basic planetary mechanics from her textbooks. It seemed so dry." The Admiral's translator crackled as they leaned forward. "Please explain how you developed the quantum physics engine." "Oh, that." Emily brightened, turning to her computer. "It started as a challenge, actually. My daughter kept asking why the spaceships in her cartoons moved like airplanes. I wanted to show her how things really work in space. She pulled up the original code framework. So I borrowed some simulation modules I'd worked with at NASA, simplified them for better processing." "And simplified?" Kazoth interrupted, their secondary tentacles twitching. "Doctor, your simplified physics engine accounts for 17 quantum variables that our best military simulators don't even track." Emily blinked. "Really? Huh. I just included everything that seemed relevant. Kids notice when things don't work right, you know. They ask questions. Lots of questions." She laughed. "You should have seen the beta testing feedback. These 12-year-olds were writing detailed reports about quantum field inconsistencies in the torpedo mechanics." Kazoth's exoskeleton creaked as they processed this, and the temporal mechanics, the 11-dimensional space folding. That was mostly for the expansion packs. Kids get bored easily, so we had to keep adding new mechanics to keep things interesting. She pulled up another screen showing player engagement metrics. The really cool stuff came from the player community. They started finding these amazing ways to combine different mechanics that we never even considered. The Admiral's primary heart skipped a beat. "You're telling me that children discovered these tactical innovations by accident?" "Oh, all the time." Emily grinned, pulling up a player feedback forum. "Look at this thread. A group of middle schoolers figured out you could use quantum entanglement fields to create temporal boost corridors. They called it quantum surfing and made this whole guide with surfboard analogies. It's adorable." Kazoth's translator struggled to maintain coherence as they read the thread. These admirable discoveries had implications that would revolutionize space travel across known space. "Dr. Rodriguez," they said carefully, "are you aware that your game has been providing advanced military training to millions of human children for the past decade?" Emily's coffee mug stopped halfway to her lips. "Military training? No. It's just physics with pretty graphics. Sure, we have combat mechanics, but that's just to make it engaging. You know how kids are with their space battles and explosions. The combat scenarios in your end-game content are more complex than our Fleet Academy's graduation trials," Kazoth explained. "Your players are developing strategies that our military theorists considered impossible." "Seriously?" Emily looked genuinely surprised. "I mean, some of our players are really creative, but..." She trailed off, her eyes widening as she began to understand the implications. "Wait, are you saying that all those crazy maneuvers kids have been posting about on our forums, those would actually work?" In real space combat. Indeed, Kizoth confirmed. Your game's physics engine is the most accurate space combat simulator we have ever encountered. And you distributed it as children's entertainment. Emily sat back in her chair, running a hand through her hair. Well, she said finally, a slight smile tugging at her lips, I guess that explains why the military's been trying to recruit our lead gameplay testers. Though they might be disappointed to learn most of them haven't finished middle school yet. The Hegemony Council chamber hummed with tense energy as the emergency session entered its third hour. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy floated on their ceremonial platforms, their bioluminescent patterns creating a shifting aurora of agitation and concern. High Counselor Vexuth's voice resonated through the chamber. Let us be absolutely clear, Admiral Kizoth. You're telling us that humans have created the most sophisticated combat training program in known space, by accident. Kizoth's holopresence flickered slightly as they responded. Not only created, Honored Council, they've distributed it to their young as entertainment, and their children have already surpassed our tactical doctrines. The chamber erupted in a cascade of flashing chromatophores and agitated tentacle movements, the hegemony equivalent of pandemonium. This is an existential threat. Defense Minister Kralthax's avatar pulsed with aggressive red patterns, a species that treats advanced warfare as child's play. They must be contained before they realize their potential. Contained. Science Director Zinra's form shimmed with patterns of skepticism. Did you miss the part where their children are already innovating beyond our capabilities? Any species that can turn complex quantum mechanics into an entertaining game would make a far better ally than enemy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was developing its own peculiar momentum. The Stellar Conquest online servers were experiencing unprecedented traffic as hegemony military observers created accounts to study human tactics. This led to some interesting encounters in the game's chat channels. Fleet Commander _Jenny, who keeps camping the quantum gravity wells with standard formation tactics. That's so last century. Hegemony Observer _2471. This is a legitimate military strategy with centuries of proven effectiveness. Fleet Commander _Jenny. Boomer. Watch this. Space Kitten _42. Jenny's gonna do the thing. Hegemony Observer _2471. Impossible. Those maneuver calculations would take our computers 3 days to process. Fleet Commander _Jenny. Git Gudlol. Back in the council chamber, the debate had reached a critical point. Look at these gameplay statistics. Zinra highlighted a holographic display. A 13-year-old human just developed a new method for quantum slipstream navigation while waiting for their pizza delivery. They posted the solution as a pro gamer tip using an analogy about skipping stones on a pond. Military strategist Yixtal's avatar flickered with distress patterns. That pro gamer tip invalidates 3 centuries of established doctrine on subspace travel, and they illustrated it with something called a meme. Kizoth intervened, their form steady among the chaotic display of agitated counselors. Honorable Council, while you debate, humans continue to innovate. Just this morning, a group of players solved the Thorian temporal paradox during their lunch break. They thought it was a bonus challenge for extra game credits. Extra game credits. High Counselor Vextooth's translator nearly shorted out. Our best scientists have been working on that paradox for decades. Yes, Kizoth confirmed. The students posted their solution on something called TikTok. They explained 11-dimensional physics using dance moves and background music. The council chamber fell into stunned silence, broken only by the soft hum of hovering platforms. There's more, Kizoth continued. Stellar Dynamics is planning to release an expansion pack next month. The beta testers, average age 11 Earth years, have already discovered 3 new principles of quantum mechanics that our science division is still trying to understand. Science Director Zinra's avatar brightened. Think of the possibilities. a species that can make the most complex concepts in the universe accessible to children. We need to establish a cultural exchange program immediately. A cultural exchange program. Defense Minister Kralfax flashed patterns of disbelief. With a species whose children casually revolutionize military doctrine while consuming something called chicken nuggets. Precisely, Kizoth replied. Because right now, somewhere on Earth, a teenager is probably solving another one of our impossible problems simply because it might earn them a high score. The council members' avatars shifted through various patterns of distress, amazement, and resignation as they realized the truth. Humanity had already won this engagement, not through force or diplomacy, but by turning the most advanced concepts in the universe into a game so engaging that children played it for fun. Pixel Paradise had never seen anything like it. The arcade's largest screen displayed the tournament brackets, while smaller monitors showed various match perspectives. Hegemony fleet commanders, resplendent in their ceremonial battle armor, sat across from human children wearing gaming headsets and casual clothes. Jenny adjusted her cat ear headphones, glancing at her teammates. Miguel from Argentina, age 13, specializing in quantum torpedo trajectories. Aisha from Nigeria, age 14, expert in temporal mechanics. And twins Sarah and Sam from India, age 12, renowned for their synchronized fleet movements. Remember, Jenny told her team, they're going to use traditional formations. Standard counters should work fine. Got it. Miguel nodded, pulling out his lucky gaming mouse. But can we get pizza first? Mom says I have to be home by 8 for homework. Admiral Kizoth, now serving as tournament organizer, addressed the assembled crowd. Their translator struggled to convey both formal gravity and excitement. This exhibition match will demonstrate the tactical capabilities of both sides. The Hegemony team consists of our most decorated fleet commanders, each with centuries of experience. Commander Ixtil, leader of the Hegemony team, stood proudly. Their exoskeleton gleamed with prestigious battle markings. Next to them, their teammates, all veterans of countless space battles, performed final calibrations on their custom control interfaces. The Earth team, Kizoth continued, their voice carrying a hint of amusement, had to get permission slips signed by their parents. The first match began. Commander Ixtil deployed their forces in the legendary 7-point defense formation, a strategy that had won the Battle of Antares. Their team moved with perfect precision, establishing an impenetrable energy grid. Okay, that's pretty, Jenny commented to her team. But watch this. Miguel, remember that thing we did in practice? Miguel grinned. The pizza slice maneuver. Exactly. The audience watched in amazement as the human team's ships arranged themselves in what appeared to be complete chaos. Then, in a sequence that had Hegemony tactical computers struggling to process, they executed a series of movements that Miguel had indeed based on how he cut pizza. The 7-point defense formation collapsed in under 2 minutes. Impossible. Commander Ixtil's translator crackled. That defied 17 laws of quantum physics. Actually, Aisha chimed in while adjusting her headset. It only looked that way because you're thinking in linear time. We just folded space like a paper airplane. Want me to explain? The second match went even faster. The twins, Sarah and Sam, demonstrated their specialty. A synchronized fleet dance they'd developed while listening to K-pop. The resulting quantum resonance pattern turned the Hegemony fleet's own shield harmonics into a devastating wave of energy. That was totally unfair, protested one of the Hegemony commanders. They were humming music while executing tactical maneuvers. Yeah, Sam shrugged, sharing a candy bar with his sister. The rhythm helps with timing the quantum pulses. Plus, the song is super catchy. By the third match, the Hegemony team had abandoned classical tactics entirely, desperately trying to adapt to the humans' unconventional style. This led to even quicker defeats, as the children had spent years developing counters to their own strategies. Here comes the temporal pincer movement, Jenny predicted, watching the Hegemony ships arrange themselves. Miguel, want to show them your new counter? The one I figured out while waiting for my microwave burrito. That's the one. Miguel's solution to the complex temporal attack pattern, developed during a 3-minute microwave wait, left the Hegemony tactical advisors in stunned silence. Between matches, the human team shared snacks, helped each other with homework, and discussed the latest game updates. The contrast with the Hegemony commanders, who were consulting tactical databases and running combat algorithms, couldn't have been starker. Admiral. Commander Ixtil approached Kazoth, their chromatophores displaying patterns of bewilderment. They're rewriting the fundamentals of space combat while eating something called Sour Patch Kids. Kazoth watched as Jenny's team celebrated another victory with a group high five. Perhaps, Commander, that is precisely why they're winning. They're not bound by centuries of tactical doctrine. They're just having fun. Fun. Commander Ixtil repeated, the word feeling foreign through their translator. Is that why the girl just asked if we could hurry up? Apparently. She has soccer practice at 6. The formal alliance signing between Earth and the Hegemony took place in 2 locations simultaneously, the Grand Council Chamber of the Hegemony's capital ship and Pixel Paradise Gaming Cafe. The human diplomatic team had insisted on the dual venue, arguing that the arcade where it all began should be part of the historic moment. Admiral Kazoth, now Earth's strongest advocate in the Hegemony, stood before the council wearing both their ceremonial regalia and a Pixel Paradise Premium member badge that Jenny had given them. The terms of alliance are unprecedented, High Counselor Vexuth announced, their chromatophores displaying formal patterns. Earth will share their game development techniques, while we provide advanced technology and space travel capabilities. On the main screen of Pixel Paradise, Jenny and her team watched the proceedings while working on their homework. The cafe had become an unofficial diplomatic center, with alien officials regularly seeking guidance from young players. In recognition of their contributions, Kazoth added, Stellar Conquest Online will be officially recognized as an advanced tactical training program. All current players will receive honorary commissions in the Hegemony Fleet Academy. Cool, Jenny commented, not looking up from her math worksheet. Does this mean we get extra credit for playing games now? The Earth diplomat standing next to her tried not to laugh. Jenny, you just got awarded a rank equivalent to fleet commander in an alien armada. Yeah, but I still have to turn in this geometry homework tomorrow. In the council chamber, Science Director Zinra was presenting their latest findings. The human approach to learning through play has revolutionized our training methods. By implementing their achievement system and level progression concepts, our own cadets' performance has improved by 300%. The feed from Pixel Paradise showed a young Hegemony cadet being tutored by a 10-year-old in the finer points of quantum slipstream navigation. The child was using the smoothie straw to demonstrate the principles of wormhole creation. Furthermore, Zinra continued, the human concept of modding, allowing players to modify and create new content, has led to innovations we never considered possible. A group of teenagers in Seoul just developed a new faster-than-light drive system while trying to make their ships look cooler. Kazoth's translator crackled with amusement as they addressed the council. 3 centuries of military service, and my most valuable tactical training comes from weekly gaming sessions with a human child. Jenny has agreed to continue as my personal advisor, pending approval from her parents and completion of her homework. Back at Pixel Paradise, the arcade had evolved into a unique cultural exchange center. Alien officials sat side by side with human children, learning not just about space combat, but about the human way of approaching complex problems with creativity and joy. No, Miguel was explaining to a group of Hegemony scientists. You're thinking too hard about it. Just imagine the quantum particles are like doing a dance challenge on social media. They're all trying to copy each other's moves, right? The scientist's tentacles twitched as this simplified explanation somehow made perfect sense of quantum entanglement. At another station, Aisha was teaching temporal mechanics to veteran space captains. It's just like when you're late for school and trying to figure out the fastest route. Except instead of streets, you're using folds in space-time. The final clause of the Alliance Treaty was being read when Jenny's mom arrived at the arcade. "Jenny, honey, it's dinner time. You can finish revolutionizing alien military doctrine tomorrow." 5 more minutes, Mom. I'm showing Admiral Kazoth how to use quantum tunneling to make a perfect spawn camp defense. Kazoth, watching through the video feed, felt their chromatophores display patterns of contentment. The hegemony had expected to find either allies or enemies on Earth. Instead, they found teachers, young ones who transformed the most complex concepts in the universe into something as natural as play. "Admiral," Commander Ixtil transmitted privately, "the human children are organizing what they call a weekend tournament. Should we adjust our tactical training schedule?" "No need, Commander," Kazoth replied, watching Jenny pack up her homework while explaining 11-dimensional physics to a fascinated alien scientist. "I suspect we have much more to learn from their games than they have to learn from our training." On the arcade's leaderboard, a new message flashed: "Intergalactic Tournament Season 1 starting soon. Homework completion required for entry."